Welcome back to DreamHack Winter. Our first semifinal is almost here. It's time to get it underway, and bringing you all of the action will be Lorinda and Derek Brown on the desk. What's up, guys? We have Bozzzton taking on Pardub. How are you feeling about this one going into it, Lorinda?
I think the Pardub has rode his luck a little bit with the Quest Rogue so far to get to this stage, and Bozzzton has just looked solid. Apart from that one game yesterday where he let it slip against the Paladin with the Druid, I think Bozzzton has looked really solid. I feel pretty comfortable for Bozzzton, but I haven't, done all the math and stuff. I'm sure this man has.
Yeah, he's just been playing some pretty solid Hearthstone. In particular, I've really liked his Malagos Druid play, and he just happens to be winning an awful lot with that deck, thankfully for him. So after we maybe see a ban from Pardub on that Druid, if it's left up, I think that is the deck that Bozzzton is most likely looking to sweep this matchup with.
Yes, that Melee Druid is the deck that he's had the most success with, but yesterday he did also have a pretty sketchy matchup where he kind of struggled with the deck, and I think he went back and looked at that and has sort of worked out the kinks since then, but he has not been infallible this weekend by any means. Do you want to go ahead and remind us exactly what he's got other than the Melee Druid, Derek?
Bozzzton, like I said, he's just got a best hits of the Boomsday meta in terms of his lineup. I think it's very similar to the lineup that Casey and Tyler brought to this tournament as well, with just Death Rattle Hunter, Even Warlock, Malagos Druid, and the Shudderwock Shaman. Just 4 very strong decks that have a decent matchup against aggro, a lot of them, but really target the heavy control meta we've got at the moment here at DreamHack. It's just a good lineup.
And for sure, we've seen him primarily piloting that Melee Druid. It's just done so much work. And then Pardub, we've seen him in his last 2 series on stream, 6-0 record with Quest Rogue. He had a 3-0 victory earlier today against Iroquois. It just, we thought at least, shouldn't have been performing that well, but it is. Why do you think that is, Lorinda?
I don't know. It's just, Burr was saying that Quest Rogue should be banned as well, actually nerfed again.
Okay.
And he's just got to the semi-final using that deck, so I don't know, it just seems to be decent in this format.
I agree.
I think people have forgotten how to ban it.
I think they have, but I don't think Bozzzton will. I expect to see a Quest Rogue ban here for Bozzzton with his 4 decks, none of which are very aggressive, all of which feel fairly vulnerable to the Quest Rogue. And the fact that his usual ban of Death Rattle Hunter isn't even represented from Pardub, one of the only competitors we see here at DreamHack, that we've seen on stream at least, without Death Rattle Hunter. So I imagine this will be a fairly easy Quest Rogue ban for Bozzzton.
Well, we're going to have to find out. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bracket really quickly and see exactly how the tournament is shaping up so far and what's gone down so far over the course of today and that last little bit of yesterday. Like we said, Bozzzton was able to defeat Toast Monster earlier today to earn his semifinal spot. And then Pardub had a 3-0 sweep against Iroquois earlier today with that Quest Rogue. We're going to find out if it will be banned. And then we just saw Faeli with a 3-2 victory over Dowido. That was a nail-biter of a series. Burrow, a 3-2 over Tyler. Unfortunately, Tyler not able to get his first HCT title, but Burrow making a bit of a splash here, earning himself a semifinal spot. So Faeli versus Burrow will be coming up after this series. Bozzzton versus Pardub happening right now. And we need to find out, is that Quest Rogue banned, or does Bozzzton feel like he can beat it the old-fashioned way? Well, the bans are in, and survey says something tells me that that's supposed to be Bozzzton and Pardub.
Yeah,
so
that's the right deck.
Excuse the names there, but the classes do look correct. So Bozzzton has banned away Pardub's Rogue deck, and Pardub has banned Bozzzton's Melee Druids. The 2 decks that these players have been known for in this tournament are not able to be played. That leaves Hunter, Shaman, Warlock for Bozzzton, and Pardub with Druid, Priest, and Paladin. I think Pardub's going to have a hard time without that Rogue.
I thought you might like it because you like the Priest deck.
I love the Priest deck. I think the Priest is super sweet, but...
Do you think it's good?
I think the Priest is super sweet.
I'll agree with that.
It was good for precisely 1 week, which was the week that Soyun identified it was good in Atlanta.
Okay.
I think.
Yeah.
He just had the right sweet spot for the deck.
I mean, you can kind of dismiss decks as being good only because people don't know how to play against them. That's not a reason to dismiss them. That is a real advantage of bringing some decks, is they are really tough to play against, and people won't have practiced against them as much.
It's the fastest race combo deck. Like, you take Shudderwock, you take Malagos, it does it faster than those.
It does.
If it draws the things.
Yes.
But
when it does it, it's unstoppable.
I also don't think that Bozzzton is a player who doesn't know how to play against this deck, though.
Yeah.
So maybe that's a valid thought moving through the Swiss if you're going to be playing against some players who are less experienced. But when you get to this point, you better know what you're doing on that Priest deck. And it's not just you need to have experience playing it, it's sometimes all of the experience in the world can't win you games with that deck. It just does not work out. But what do you at home think? Make sure you're following in the channel, and then in the chat, hashtag Pardub or hashtag Bozzzton with 3 Z's. Get your vote in. We want to hear who you are rooting for in this series. Bozzzton, native Swedish player. Pardub, I believe, from the Czech Republic. We got to see him and Faley both on opposite sides of the bracket. We could potentially be having a full Czech final here if Faley wins his semifinal as well. But what do you think is going to happen here, Lorinda? Is it Bozzzton or is it Pardub?
I've been touting Bozzzton throughout this tournament as being playing, he's good anyway, but I think he's on the top of his game. Yeah. I think that Pardub may have ridden his luck a little bit even to get this far at times. 1 or 2 sloppier plays, so I'm going to go for a fairly clear Bozzzton win. Yeah,
I get the impression looking at the matchups that this is going to be a very close series, a very back and forth series, because Bozzzton, unlike in some of his previous games where he just had the Mali Druid, which could just kind of sweep all the decks, all of his decks have like 2 good, 1 bad matchups. So I think it might be a lot of countering back and forth, but I got to give it to Bozzzton still. I think he's just in a good spot with his decks. He's been playing very well, and with the Quest Rogue out of the way for Pardub, which is I think the only deck we've seen him win with at all on the stream, he should be in a good spot.
Yeah, with that Quest Rogue gone, I really worry about Pardub's chances here. We just have not seen him perform on any of the other decks, so we can't say definitively that he has as much experience on the other decks as he's had on Quest Rogue on the stream. So I'm going to give this one to Bozzzton as well. I think Bozzzton making it to the finals and taking on this tournament would be a great victory for him, but also a great storyline. Obviously, he's a Swedish Hearthstone player. We are in his home country of Sweden, and that is always awesome. So I'm going to give my vote over to Bozzzton, but what did you at home think? Did you vote for Bozzzton as well, like the 3 of us did, or did you give your vote over to Pardub? It's actually a Pardub favor
here.
They
just go against us every time, I'm sure.
59.
They are trolling at this point.
Well, you know what? When I was backstage looking at chat during Pardub in his match earlier today, he's got some fans. There are some people who want him to win. I think he showed a big personality on stream so far, and the audience tends to really like that.
And I think also when you're a slightly less well-known player and you get this far into such a prestigious tournament, you are going to message every single person you've ever met in your life to say, come watch me win DreamHack. Whereas Bozzzton, this is kind of just another day at the office. I mean, Pardub held up a sign while we were casting his last series that said, "Hi, Mum."
Did he really?
Yeah, he did. I think you missed it.
How did I miss that?
Yeah.
You didn't say anything.
I chuckled quietly, as a good Brit should.
That's fair.
Yeah, we
That's
would like to interfere with anything that's actually upset the run of things, would we?
Sometimes you don't even smile when you're happy. It's a very strange system you guys work with.
Deeply complicated. Yeah, what is this word, happy?
We're going to find out who's going to be happy after this one. Maybe you can teach Lorinda and Derek a lesson in emotion. Will it be Pardub or will it be Bozzzton as our first finalist here at DreamHack Winter? Our first semifinal starts right now.
Happy indeed. We can try. It's semi-finals at DreamHack. Of course, we're happy. And it is a stacked one. This side and the other side. The Bozzzton Faley thing that I think we've wanted for some time, actually, with the exception of Tyler in that mix. Yeah. To see these 2 guys, one of them take home a tour stop before the system rotates into a new one. I think they've both earned it through the year. But there's other players trying to play spoiler here. Pardub and Burr trying to ruin it for them. Let's see if game number 1 goes the way of Bozzzton. It's not Quest Rogue, so Pardub's going to have to do it with decks we haven't seen him do well with.
Yeah, I have to be honest, I would be quite surprised to not see a Bozzzton Faley final. That's definitely what I'm expecting, both in terms of decks and the style of play that we've seen so far here at the tournament. But like you said, no Quest Rogue here for Pardub, so we're going to see that even Paladin up against the even Warlock, which, while I think at first glance, when I first thought about this matchup, like more hypothetically on paper, I would think that the even Warlock would be ahead, right? They have Defile, which would be really good against all the 1/1s. They've got Spellstone to deal with the mid-sized minions. What does the Paladin do with all these big minions like the Giant and the Twilight Drake? But I think the more I play it, the more I just really like the even Paladin.
I actually like the even Paladin too. The equality can deal with enough stuff. It doesn't get overloaded with huge minions the whole game, just 1 or 2. And the later the game goes, oddly, because the Warlock tends to lose its good stuff early on or win the game with that stuff, the Paladin scales quite well as the game goes by. Tell you what we haven't seen at all, at least when I've been casting on stream this tournament, is an even lock with Gul'dan just sort of grinding somebody slowly to death.
It's all been very explosive, hasn't it?
Yeah, it really has.
Well, I mean, that's kind of understandable. Like, the power of Gul'dan has kind of gone down because, like, against Malagos Druid, you probably either kill them or you get bursted down. And whether you're at 30 health or 20 health doesn't really make much difference. Against the aggro decks, you're either just winning quickly or losing quickly anyway. It's not like against the odd warriors where you were really slowly grinding them down with Gul'dan.
Pardub not averse to telling his opponent he's about to do something bad to him.
Dare I say it's his favourite hobby.
It seems to be. I don't know if he does it off stream, but it's I think he must do because it's like automatic every time.
I mean, it's like people call me a BMer because I start every ladder game with greetings and I end everyone with well played.
That's because you win every game and you play Wild Growth on 2 every game.
Well, half of that was correct, unfortunately.
Yeah.
I do not win every game.
Well, Bozzzton already in a position where he's got to be thinking a long way ahead, but 18 health already just from this army of nothing.
But speaking of army of nothing, look at Bozzzton's hand. It's so clunky.
Yeah.
He's got, what is that, a 10-card hand where it's literally all minions.
Again, we've seen it 2 or 3 times in this event. It's like any spells here is so important. You want to play those homunculi and boost your spell stones and get into the game that way. You don't want to be just playing them as spoilers for 1 turn.
Yeah.
And turn 5 doesn't help him. He's just got the same turn again next turn unless he sort of rips a giant off the top, which might be too slow by then.
Welcome to Even Warlock.
Yeah. Yeah, the Even Warlock fans don't get these hands. They don't seem to.
Yeah. But, you know, to Pardub's credit as well, the fact that he made the very, very conscious choice, I would say, of going Crystalsmith Kangor instead of Wild Pyromancer means even if there was a Defile from Bozzzton, it does not get the job done.
Yeah, he's played very carefully around Defile, and that's massively important. And again, they're actually doing that again. Just making sure that nothing terrifying happens. These trades look a bit strange, but he's just playing around Defile.
All minions are effectively at 1, 3, and 4 health, with the Divine Shield in terms of Defile maths just adding 1 to the health total.
And that giant is probably too slow.
It's pretty good. If you can go giant this turn, survive, and then go something plus the Sun Fury Protector on the next turn.
The survive part of that is so hard.
That is a bit difficult.
There's 17 on the board.
Trying to find something else here and just gets a pair of El Gigantes.
And now he's dead on board. So now he can't even play the giant and hope there's no buff because he would die.
So he has to play Spellbreaker in order to silence off the Wind Fury.
Yes.
Or play
double
Volgar
Sun Fury, but that's
yeah.
absolutely horrendous, yeah.
Yeah, while he could play the Taunts, I think I agree with getting this out of the way. It's the biggest minion he can put on the board.
I think that's exact.
Yep, I agree. 10, 14, 16. I think that is going to be a lightning fast game 1 going to Pardub. And well played, or thank you, sorry, in 3, 2,
Can we add up?
1.
Yeah, we can. Or are we 1 short? No, we can add up.
Yeah, that's lethal.
He's just... Is he just being Pardub or has he missed it?
Surely he's BMing. There's 7, 8. Okay, he sees it.
Round of applause for Dark for the guy who counts
that was just
to 16.
There we go, the hello instead.
Oh, and Bozzzton with a little sort of glance at the camera to express his thoughts on the guy who slow rolls the lethal and hellos him.
That is BM to the extreme.
I think you know when the paladin hero is this Murloc. You know what's going to be.
The Annoyatron.
Even. Funny Murloc. Shows what I think of Murlocs.
You
know what opponent is going to do.
You do indeed, and Bozzzton taking a pretty big loss there. As we were explaining at the start, I think that's not an unexpected loss for Bozzzton, but that doesn't make it any less painful, as he now has to find a counter for this even Paladin, which I would say he actually has a pretty strong counter in the form of Shudderwock Shaman. I really like that matchup for the Shudderwock Shaman.
It's really good because we were saying the Paladin scales well into the later game, but Shudderwock's removal scales really well into turns 4, 5, 6, Hex, Volcano, buffed Lightning Storms, and then you start getting into Hagatha. And
oh, yes.
The minions in Paladin are beefy-ish, but Hex takes care of any buffs, and they can't put the early pressure on, so the Shudderwock can get nicely established while it sits there and does its thing.
Only one Earthshock, however, for Bozzzton, which is a little bit sad. You would rather have the double silence effect, as it is obviously very nice against the Corpse Taker's Blessing of King's Spike Ridge Steed, even is a very nice target for it, of the even Paladin. But this looks like a pretty good hand for Bozzzton. The Serenite Chain Gang is a nice way to curve out. You could consider keeping the other 3 drops as well as decent tech cards.
Yeah, I think he's okay. I think because you're not in a hurry. Yeah, certainly the U's, actually. Yeah, you're okay. Yeah. You're right on both. Wow. This is awkward. It's interesting to see the Valenier kept. That's how Pardub sees the game going long. We're saying about the way that the removal scales for the Shaman. Pardub done his homework in that regard, I feel, in that, okay, it's going to go long. My Valenier helps me go a little bit longer.
We have turned our curse into our
I'm not certain if I agree with the Valenier way of going about things, because I agree that the end game for even Paladin probably comes in the form of burst, be it through weapon damage, consecration, Avenging Wrath in particular, exactly. But there's a lot the Shaman can do to counteract that. They can stick taunts in the way. They have Glacial Shard, which if you can go Glacial Shard, Grumble, Zola, whatever else, that Valenier will be shut down pretty hard. And if it does ever actually get onto a minion, Hex, Earthshock, whatever, that Valenier is donezo.
Another reason to keep it is you keep a card. That always throws your opponent a little bit. Imagine Bozzzton's already thinking, wonder what that card is on the left.
That's actually kind of valid. He might be more willing to throw away removal cards to play around Blessing of Kings, because that's a card that you'll definitely be afraid of having been kept by Pardub.
I don't know if Pardub's like communicating in Morse code by hovering over cards. He's a fidgety individual. But Bozzzton just playing nice and steady, realizing there's no immediate danger. Deck's full of healing and defense, so no hurry. And if Pardub wants to go this route of little guys, MC Tech will take care of that in a hurry.
Yeah, and then, well, MCT and Ooze.
We get to find out if he should have kept them. Will they be good or won't they?
Yeah, and that will definitively say whether or not it was correct based on this one game sample.
That's exactly how sample sizes work.
As we do see Pardub making a very conscious effort to play around that exact card, not hero powering, to mitigate the effect of mind control tech, which is probably right, because I think he will probably be able to keep his hand less than 4 minions for a good while, because next turn he can just play Kings, and then he can just make 1 big minion a turn. As they start to get removed off, he can then play the Chain Gang. But I think there was a consideration to going for 4 minions whilst half of them, or even arguably 2/3 of them,
while they were
pretty bad.
And get rid of the MC Tech and just move on with your life.
Debate Bozzzton into going for it.
He's over there somewhere, actually.
Yeah, Jeb Bailey is actually here, isn't he?
Well, we are going to find out something in the next few seconds.
Ooh.
Bozzzton just planning to go incredibly slowly.
Greedy plays here from Bozzzton, where, I mean, I was quite honestly looking at the fact that Pardub is so obviously playing around mind control tech, maybe just playing the mind control tech.
The trouble is then he doesn't have to play around it anymore. So there's this whole standoff situation where,
that's true.
You know, yes, he's playing around it, so your MC Tech is useless, but the second you play it, it's doing a job just by being in your hand, is what I'm saying.
And all of his minions, while they looked like they traded very well into the board as it currently appeared, Blessing of Kings turns that around very quickly.
Yes.
Which Bozzzton will obviously have been afraid of.
Well, there goes that board.
Coin into Volcano to deal with all this damage for Bozzzton, which, while at 20 health, 11 damage on the board, yes, that kind of has to be worth it just to clear things up. You don't really want to go for a full board clear going into turn 5 for the even Paladin. You want to do it going into turn 6, I think, to play around that Spike Ridge Steed.
Yeah, he was sort of forced into doing it earlier than he'd like, I think, there. But yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Do you know the chess term that I was trying to talk about, where you're forced into making a move, and it's called like a Zugzwang? Or
Zugzwang, yeah. It's where you can only move in one place. They force they force the play.
Exactly, yeah. That's what I was trying to say earlier
Yeah.
on. And I think I pronounced it horribly wrong.
That sounds pretty close. You do a lot more chessing than you let on.
And chess with the best of them. Those horses.
This is my
The horses,
The horses.
the castles,
Oh, I'm good with the horses and castles.
and the bish.
As things are heating up here for Pardub, that keep of Valinir. It's an interesting play. There was obviously some consideration for Argent Commander on that turn. But I guess he wants to try and hope to get the Valinir Death Rattle maybe on the Argent Commander just to get an 8 damage burst attack rather than a 4.
Yeah, that seems pretty tasty.
Which is very valid, yeah.
I mean, you don't mind any of this almost.
3 out of 4 is very, very good here with the Valinir buff.
And you're expecting it to get Hex, so you know you don't get much out of it if you hit the ooze. As it happens, there is no Hex there. Nearly my old Farsight Hex problem, even though Hex these days doesn't cost 3 anymore, and it hasn't done for like a year.
Engaging PC.
The buff goes down there on the chain gang, I think.
my responsibility.
And the MC Techs come out at the same time, so bad things are about to happen for Bozzzton. Yeah.
Bozzzton, look at that look on his face. He knows that it couldn't have gone much worse than that. Little does he know.
It couldn't, little did you know that wasn't a stroke of luck, it was a stroke of luck. The hand was that way, but that it wasn't just a 1 in 4 it's hit.
He does, however, have the ability to deal with this board through the pickup of Hex off the top. Perhaps an emote sent back Pardub's way to even the playing field here, as this game now carries on once again.
Yeah, and getting rid of the Valinir.
Oh,
that's why it's so
that's
incredible.
so big.
It's not just the double buff, it's the double Valinir you get out of it. And they're both gone.
But then this is the Lich King off the top as well for Pardub.
He's just looking to the skies, Bozzzton. He's had this all year long, not usually in the semi-finals, usually a little bit earlier, but he has had incredible runs of like running into bad things at bad times. You're trying to tell me about this anti-magic shell, aren't you?
One of these last few turns have been insane. Like the Valinir perfect targeting into the perfect response into the Lich King anti-magic shell. What does Bozzzton do now?
Tune in to find out.
He can
Double
just go
chain
double
gang,
chain
close
gang.
your eyes and hope it all goes away.
Because double chain gang, there's a pretty good chance that at least 2 of them survive. Maybe 1 is a little bit more realistic. And then you go
expecting
Grumble.
it to be death and decay though, because the way this game's already gone,
Fair
your
point.
brain starts playing tricks on you.
Yeah,
I think you do double chain gang when it all is said and done.
You just got to start weakening these minions for double lightning storm.
Double lightning storm should take out the Lich King 3 times in 4. Is that? If you trade into it.
Oh, what, right now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I suppose that's worth considering.
But as Bozzzton does quite so often, he's just going for the planning route. You can't kill me next turn.
Leads up with Hagatha instead. I suppose this is a slightly different way of setting up for the clear on the Lich King.
It also makes his potential double chain gang significantly better. Try and get himself some spells to deal with. Shaman spells deal with sort of medium-sized boards really well.
Yeah.
It's just big boards and small boards they don't deal with.
But because of both the Argent Commander and he's not playing Tyrion, and the Crystal Smith Kangor has already been drawn, it doesn't have Divine Shield, which is so big for Bozzzton.
Yes.
The fact that he has the ability to very likely get a double clear here.
Again,
Or is that just 75%?
I think it's 75%. You need a 3 and a 2,
Yeah.
3 and a 3, or 2 and a 3.
Yeah.
And the bad ones are 2 and a 2. Yes, so 75%. Which at the moment to Bozzzton probably feels like 0%. But now he's got a backup plan
can target
on the rest of it as well.
Even with the AMS, battle cries are not affected by that, but let's see if he can get the result he needs to take it out anyway. There's the 3. Complete board clear available to Bozzzton after what looked like an unremovable board state. With the Valinir on the 2 chain gangs, Bozzzton is somehow clawing his way back into this game.
Yeah, and Pardub is not out of stuff though by any stretch, and
He's got a death grip here that could just rip the Shudderwock straight up.
it doesn't, to everybody's massive surprise. We have seen so many Shudderwocks just have accidents throughout this whole tour stop year.
Hearthstone has just like trained me like Pavlov's dogs to just expect that every time, the most ridiculous result. I suppose like Pavel's dogs with the polymorph
Pavel's
of the
books.
Yeah.
Nice.
Hello?
So at least the annoyed one annoys you as well as your opponent.
Oh, it does. If you're talking directly to me, then you are correct.
Yeah, I'm talking directly to you.
Yeah.
It's kind of my job. Otherwise I wouldn't bother.
And now with obviously the overload on this turn, it means that Bozzzton wouldn't even be able to play a Shudderwock if it were available. But with the Hagatha being played, Shudderwock does now deal 3 damage to everything, which is a very, very big deal against a wide old board like this.
And he's protected the chain gangs from the big stuff, and they're pretty good at dealing with the small stuff to buy you more time. They're not great, but they're okay. You can only play one of them, of course, but he can lob in a Glacial Shard behind them.
Yeah, it's usually very good, I agree. Some of the time you get Tarimmed, though. And generally, when you get Tarimmed, you're also losing.
Yeah, losing's not good. But I mean, again, it's another game where he's just not drawing spells.
Yeah.
So I mean, he has used a few. So maybe generating some. This sort of board is what the bad Shaman spells actually deal well with. Forked Lightning and all that sort of the stuff that you don't ever see or want.
Ooh, Hex is a very nice card off the Witch's Brew. He could now play Grumble and survive. He'd be alive at 2 health after a Tarim. And he is considering it. He wants to take the risk, but instead...
He's taking a lot of good
the
calculated risks in the stream games. He took one bad one as well, but such is the nature of calculated risks.
Yeah. And I think this looks to me like Pardub is going to be setting up for the Sunkeeper Tarim. Can't take any value trades, unfortunately, due to the equal effect of the transition, but it does mean you're going to start to get some real damage through and once again demand an answer from Bozzzton.
When I first started casting this, having not played it much, I'm like, but the 1-mana hero power is just not that good. Then you play it, it's like, it just works so beautifully.
Yeah. Also, I believe not a sequencing order from Pardub, because otherwise he wouldn't have had room to play the Tarim, I think, from what I saw. I think that was the way he had to do it. But no Shudderwock available to get the 3 damage battle cry from Hagatha. No Lightning Storm, no Volcano.
Not enough mana for bouncing back Samanites and replaying stuff.
He could bounce back the Shard with his Grumble to freeze something and he gets a spell. Maybe it's a Lightning Storm. Or he could just start off with a Chain Gang and hope he gets pretty much a Lightning Storm.
Yeah, and it needs to be a good one as well.
There's so much health for too much health for a Volcano to clear, especially once he's played one of his own minions.
Pardub doesn't like waiting either, does he?
No.
I think playing it like Bozzzton, it gets the Lightning Storm!
I mean, it's not...
Now he's got to roll pretty well.
It's so far from a guaranteed board clear. Let's go, Bozzzton praying.
He needs to clear a lot of this. I'm not even going to calculate what a lot is.
With the Argent Commander as well, it needs to clear so much stuff here. Whoa, that was pretty good. That was pretty good. But that's lethal.
Lethal the other way, I think.
No!
Oh my goodness, it's exact lethal from the top. And the crowd cheered and then went absolutely silent. How did Bozzzton even get into this position? He's not going to concede, he's going to force him to do it.
Who is this man?
Bozzzton refused to concede. He's like, you're going to kill me, get on with it.
And
I'll have to drink my water.
Has won the counter queue, 2-0 up. This absolute savage of a man is 1 game away from the finals at DreamHack Winter.
And every time we've seen him on stream, he's just destroyed people. Even when he was losing, we cut across when he was like 1-0 down, and then he just savages his opponent there.
Bozzzton has to win 3 games in a row with his Death Rattle Hunter against the Even Paladin, the Malygos Druid from Pardub, and the Xerix Cloning Gallery Priest, which I would argue are 3 winnable matchups.
Yeah, I mean,
none of these are miserable at all.
This isn't Odd Paladin, this isn't a massacre.
Yeah.
You would rather not have to do it, but Hunter's pretty good at the moment. To be fair, I thought Pardub's propensity to use his emotes would be something that maybe would sort of distract him from his play, but actually he just seems to play the same way all the time anyway.
His greatest weapon is tilting Bozzzton out of his mind.
I don't think Bozzdon's tilted.
I am joking a little bit. I think Bozzdton is a very...
But if he played like this all the way through the
calm,
Swiss, he
collected
probably
man.
tilted somebody out of their minds.
Yeah. Like me.
He's tilted all of the casters. I mean, if you are having fun, if this is your idea of fun, different things for different people, then you are likely to at least play in a more relaxed state.
Yeah, I agree.
And he's definitely having fun. I'd be having fun if I had that game of Hearthstone happen.
Yeah. And Hearthstone players, in tournament play at least, are generally very polite. The last thing they want to do is upset their opponent.
Yeah.
It seems we have a new villain
scheme.
of the Hearthstone community, though. But starting off with what is a pretty respectable start, nothing too disgusting, but it seems to me like Pardub's hand here, while it's not so explosive, it starts to work together very nicely. The Blessing of Kings on the Divine Shielded minion could work out really nicely, but actually the pick of Candle Shot from Bozzdton makes this counter very nice, and then Grizzly into Cube play dead without an equality from Pardub. Maybe the combos are just there from the Death Metal Hunter,
Hunter's
even
Mark
without
as
the
well.
egg. Yeah, that deals with a big minion.
Like you say, even without the egg, which is bizarro.
That Spider Bomb could be very nice, because that means now there's more flexibility and versatility in that play dead. Whereas before it would have to have been used on the cube. It can now just be used to destroy maybe a corpse
These are
taker
just
that comes
the
down
right sort of minions for spider bombs.
Yeah.
Like it kills things. It doesn't worry about how big or small they are. Things like Tyrion just go, meh.
Bozzdton will definitely be having in the back of his mind, or arguably on the forefront as he plans this turn, the Hunter's Mark in combination with how much durability is he willing to use on the Candle Shot. How much does he want to kill off? Because he wants to save it back to kill off a minion with Blessing of Kings put on it.
I wonder if he'd done very little here. If Pardub would have played around MC Tech. Just left it with 3 awful minions and said, buff
Maybe.
1, I'm going to Hunter's Mark it.
And while this play looks at face value to obviously be incredibly weak, it does play around Blessing of Kings in quite a nice fashion, because then Pardub has to buff the 5/5 and trade it into the Spider Bomb and hope to hit the 50-50. If he doesn't, they both die every time. Does he equip the True Silver now? If he does go for True Silver instead of Blessing of Kings, that's a good result for Bozzdton. He's denied the Kings.
Yeah. Does he lose 50-50?
It seems not.
Apparently not. Make it
That's
stop.
like... you have a 2-2 instead of a 1-1, and you give him a hello.
At least beat the Paladin so we don't have to listen to the annoyance one anymore.
And so, for Bozzdton now, coin into the Witchwood Grizzly leaves it at 7 health, I believe, which means it doesn't die to what's on board. Something else in addition has to be used, which obviously Pardub has. Blessing of Kings can be used here.
But this is really, really inefficient, and it plays into the Hunter's Mark.
Well, it plays
and
into
the flanking strike even better.
Yeah, really nicely.
And Bozzdton on 23 can play like in a gaming fashion. He can sort of just say, okay, I'm going to leave the 1-1 up. Feel free to waste a Spite Ridge Steed or whatever, but you probably don't want to have that against you.
Wow, Bozzdton going with the Candle Shot here.
Spite Ridge Steed is a good
Spite
card
Ridge
to
Steed,
deny.
yeah.
It is
Yeah,
a good card
yeah.
to deny.
The biggest minion is going to be playing here is Gen. What else can he play that's that big for 6 mana?
Plus
You're
your
not
mana is
playing
getting tight as Bozzdton right now. Do you queue play dead here just for the sake of an extra 3/3?
I'm looking at it very strongly. I think that changes your mind.
Right.
Because you can now go egg, play dead Keleseth. Next turn, just cube the egg. Turn after that, Katharina.
It always gets annoying when they do that. I'm really interested to know if he would have just cubed the 3/3 for the board presence.
Very possibly. It makes a board that's resilient to a quality consecrate board clears.
But obviously this is significantly more sensible now he's picked up the egg.
He wants to remove the minion again to play around Spike Ridge Steed again, which may lead him to go for the Hunter's Mark instead of the Play Dead, actually, which is
Okay.
interesting way of going about it. I suppose if he'd gone for the Play Dead instead, the Gen could have just attacked into the egg to kill it off, and then Equality Consecration clears the board. So this is definitely a much lower tempo play.
Oh, this might be a game then where cubing an egg is actually super good because putting 2 eggs in the cube for the Equality Consecration is just not the worst.
Sure.
For later on, having eggs hanging around.
I mean, if Bozzzton gets any half-decent draw to fill out his mana next turn, I think there's a good chance he saves the cube Play Dead to go for cubing and Play Dead whatever beast comes off the Katharina.
Yep. And that's a half
Like that,
decent
for
fill out the
example.
curve draw
That's
that you're
not
talking
bad.
about.
We could, of course, see Ziliax plus Play Dead, because he
I mean, 5/5s are good cards.
we could even see Play Dead on the egg, then cube the egg, which is the most amount of stuff he can make right now, which isn't even that bad, because the fact that that is the weakest play to an equality board clear is kind of not that bad because he has Katharina next turn.
Yeah.
And if he can get the Equality Consecrate board clear out of the way with a huge tempo play this turn, Katharina could very easily just solo win the game for
It
him.
also helps him delay the decision on the secret if he does it the way you just described.
Yeah.
Whereas the Ziliax kind of walks
Good
into
point.
so many secrets,
Yeah. I don't think any of them are that bad. Like Auto Defense Matrix.
which I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, you would... well, yeah, it is. We can see
Yeah.
on the side there. I think the Ziliax would attack in first. But in the end here, Bozzzton goes for an even different play, which is less tempo right now, but more resilience against the Equality Consecrate board clear. Which I can understand the reasoning for, absolutely.
Yeah, and when are you getting 1 more mana for any time soon as well?
Yeah.
Well, this is where the game can turn around so easily depending on which beast decides to turn up. As long as Bozzzton's careful about his secret play arounds.
He will be wondering about that very carefully. I mean,
He considers everything.
yeah, like... I'm considering other stuff, but it's Katharina on turn 8. I think there's still, what, 3 out of the 4 beasts in deck after only just 1 Grizzly being drawn. Even if it's Repentance, which actually, no, it can't be right because of the cube being played. He knows that it's an attack one.
Army of the Dead, by the way.
Yeah.
In a minion-filled deck. In a non-battle cry minion-filled crush.
Oof. There's the crush, taking out the Lich King easily and peasily.
There's something very pleasing about Anoyatron's crying hello as a crush just goes marching in.
I quite agree. As Bozzzton's play to go for making the 2 eggs rather than the 1/5/5 with the play dead a couple turns ago does now mean that Tyrion becomes a lot worse. That is definitely another consideration for his play. Because if Pardub goes for the Tyrion there, he just makes 3/3 eggs, which make 5/5s after. He can't do that.
Look at this board.
Oh.
It's like someone walked past the board, dropped their arena deck.
So if he's going to go for the Terrascale Stalker Activator, I think it probably is going to be on the Katharina. Because you don't really want any more eggs, I think, at this point.
So what he's got to do is make sure he orders things really carefully to make sure that the board doesn't get messed up too full.
Yes, good point.
Give his
Good
Ziliax
point.
first or something silly.
Yep. Okay, very possibly wanting to take it slower and still lock out the possibility of an Equality Consecrate board clear.
Yeah, if you want to kill my Katharina, I'll have a thing anyway. If you
And
don't want to kill my Katharina, I'll kill it off next turn.
This is very resilient play from Bozzzton. He's realizing how far ahead he is, and so this play is locking out his advantage.
Yeah, he loses to Equality Consecration or Tarim if accidents occur.
Yes.
And he's got those both covered.
He is locking those possibilities out here, and we can clearly see, obviously there is no Equality Consecrate. Tarim is the best that Pardub can do, which...
Actually, straight Consecrate's not that disastrous either.
It would leave 2 healthy eggs, 2 1-health eggs. It summons a beast from the Katharina,
But that's happening anyway.
yeah, okay.
It might actually be better to do that.
And
right
then he can
now.
lead into a Tarim.
Yeah.
I guess that's his thinking. Not on the same turn, I mean, sorry.
Yeah. Start planning for that to happen.
Oh, no, but then the eggs are still all on
There's
the board.
so
If you go
many
for the
eggs.
Tarim on the eggs, then that's just so miserable. You just can't deal with these eggs.
Hello? Hello?
Torture by Paladin. But the straight statistics of the situation, the numbers on the cards are just overwhelmingly switching Bozzzton's way. And a lot of the big stuff for Pardub has gone. And some of it, because of Bozzzton's play, cannot be played.
Was this play the way to go? He's obviously very deliberately leaving the Katharina unable to die on this turn.
He's also put one on the egg so that the consecration is an option should he
Good point.
should he want to turn the 5/5s into 3/3s
Yeah.
with Tarim.
That's a good attack, but I wonder if the overall strategy of that plan was the way to go, because Katharina's still just a 6-attack minion. The body of the Katharina itself is very scary.
Yeah, I think in this situation it's actually okay. Bozzzton's not trying to kill you, he's trying to dominate board. The 6 isn't that relevant for now. You can turn it into 3 at your wish.
Big Valinor here for Pardub. If he can get the chain gang yet again, my goodness, then he gets to put up a very powerful defensive wall with some nice big minions as well.
Bozzzton eyebrow raise in 10, 9. Just...
Bozzzton here clearly very unsure if he should start to tempo his threats out.
Yeah, he doesn't want to lose all of it. One of the things you can do with Hunter, which I haven't seen for a long time, because it doesn't usually grind, it usually defends and wins or smashes you.
Yeah.
You can run out of stuff, but you can't because you tend to have Rexar.
Yeah.
But it is possible to run out of stuff.
Right. So now in terms of a consecration, attacking into the cube summons 1 egg. Katharina, from where Pardub's standing, probably summons another beast. Although he might just have to pray that it's not there. I don't think the clear route is there on this turn. I mean, it wasn't really there on the last turn either. It just felt like the best of a miserable situation that he could make.
Like, Pardub might read this tracking, which isn't being played because of the danger of cycling through the beasts. He might read it as a beast.
That's fair.
Because there's not many cards it can be, and tracking's kind of not immediately obvious. It is as soon as you see him keep it, you know why, but it's not immediately obvious from the other side of the board.
Yeah, going with the silence on the egg, trying to set up. I suppose by saving this consecration, it gives him the out of equality consecration later on down the line. And, I mean, fair play to him. Maybe that's been his plan for the longest time here. It probably has, actually. But I think that's so optimistic. But then again, how does he pull this game back? He has to play in a perfect fantasy world in order to win here.
Yeah, Handmaster Shaw makes that fantasy world even more far away.
Oh, yes.
It's more like Never Neverland. Or Netherland.
See, if Tyler had been playing, that would have been
That would
really
be
funny.
actually amazing.
Yeah.
I've only just realised how amazing that would have been. Noting it down for the future. Soffel steals it.
As the the Deathstalker Rexar is presented to Bozzzton, offered the tracking. He's, I think, looking at lethal possibilities with Flanking Strike, Houndmaster Shaw. Obviously, with the board in the state it's in, I can't count up the lethal opportunities, but I'm sure as his finger moves around, he is doing the maths, and if he spots it, that's the play to go for.
Quickly.
He hasn't missed a hero power for like more than once out of about the last 4 turns.
Yeah, and while I don't think that's lethal quite yet, it's incredibly close. And yeah,
Yeah, it's not lethal, but he's on 36 with an enormous board against somebody on 4.
yeah, he hits the buff on Tarim, which is the one he wanted to get, of course. He can make the eggs smaller. Now, the attacks on he can make the dinosaurs smaller, sorry. The attacks on the eggs worked out very nicely there for Pardub.
Yeah,
that was a really gorgeous spot.
He's been doing that for some time.
Yeah. But I think we can see with Houndmaster Shaw attacking with the hyenas.
Yeah,
That's lethal?
you can't clear the... Without a beast, you can't clear the Tarim with only the rush. It would be lethal if they had charge.
Oh, well... No, I think you could.
Okay.
I mean, whatever. It's game
now.
over anyway. Pardub throws down the game. I think even without the extra nonsense Bozzzton was throwing in there, maybe he was getting a little bit of reverse BM, a little bit of revenge, if you will, as he brings a win onto the table, something to get the ball rolling. He, again, needs to get all 3 wins here with this Death Rattle Hunter. 1 down, 2 to go.
Yeah, and they're going to be interesting to see which way Pardub decides to do this. Does he want to go for the... I just want to put it past him to go for the hardest one first.
Why not?
Just why not? It doesn't matter which way he chooses to take it on, but... Oh!
Zeric's Cloning Gallery does obviously indicate a quick win condition potentially available to Pardub.
Yes, as long as he doesn't Mind Blast.
Oh, yeah. As long as he doesn't start drawing some of his key beasts like... Yeah. Oh, sorry, key minions like... Pretty much any of them, actually. He wants the Radiance in there.
With the deck.
Yeah, he wants Velen, Malagos, everything he wants just to stay in the deck. But Bozzzton here, we can clearly see from his mulligan what his game plan is in this matchup. He threw away Deathstalker Rexar. Value, what is value in this matchup? He is going to smork Pardub down.
Yep, the Priest is not very good at dealing with Smork. It is very good at dealing with slow combo erasers.
Yeah,
which Rexar is a 1-card slow combo erase.
Fair. The classic question with any kind of control priest of whether you play the Shadow Visions on 2. Surprisingly often I see people just not playing it because they think, I'll have the mana later on and I don't know what I want right now.
I seem to remember this deck plays quite a few spells and you want to thin them out as well.
Well, it doesn't draw the card, it makes a copy.
That's what I mean, you want to draw some so you have less to choose from for the one you're looking for.
Oh, sorry, yeah,
so
I
you
understand.
thin down the options. If you draw the one you want, it's fine, and then you've got fewer to choose from. Sorry, I'm not that bad.
A Spider Bomb is kind of the most aggressive choice you can take just for a low curve minion. It probably does very little for the first few turns because the earliest big minion that we could see would be like a Shadow Essence.
He's just playing it as a 3/3.
Yeah, I can respect this.
Looks very weird, but makes a lot of sense.
Oh man, but basically every card there that wasn't Play Dead or the Terrascale Stalker was just a pretty sad card.
Pardub has, I mean, he's not going to do it most likely in a hurry, but he has Psychic Scream anytime he wants it from next turn. There's a double coin.
That is true.
So Bozzzton is probably going to go all in if he gets the chance.
Oh, Holy Smite picked up for Pardub. This shows his game plan very clearly, which is, I think, a very high likelihood of coin, on his potentially coin after the second Gargoyle dies, into Zeric's Cloning Gallery, into kill Bozzzton.
Yeah, and this deck just does that thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, that doesn't help.
That's not a good
It's weird. You draw your good cards, it's a bad thing.
That is
the Radiant element of the cards you don't want to draw as well.
He can still do a fair amount of damage and potentially just pop off with a huge Lyra turn. Because, again, he obviously doesn't have to go for coin, because he's probably not under that much pressure. However, this is a lot of pressure.
Yeah, he may have to use one of those coins to scream in a minute. He hasn't gone for any defensive options. Probably correctly, but even so, it's relevant. Sometimes you just Spirit Lash and gain 1 million armor, health, and you're done.
I mean, he's taking preemptive defensive options, I think, in the form of picking Shadower Death off of the Shadow Visions.
He's going for it.
That's
this is
one.
So much damage.
That's 2. That's 3. And here comes the Zeric's Cloning Gallery for 14 damage, I believe, with the Malagos being drawn, unfortunately, for him. But at the same time, the Rexar has come down, which means, how on earth does Bozzzton possibly deal with this board?
There's a reason you don't beat Odd Paladin, and those things don't. That's another Mind Blast.
That's another Mind Blast.
Those things don't have abilities. These things do.
That is 20 damage that Pardub could just launch through to the face, and he is going for it. Bozzzton needs to find some way to deal with this board, and I just don't know what he can do.
Yeah. It's looking like Pardub with just some unbeatable hands, basically, is going to take this down. And Bozzzton got going quite quickly. He played minions for a couple of turns.
Yeah, didn't get the bloat bat. If he got like bloat bat into Penguin and had drawn the play dead, he could destroy this all, obviously, with the death rattle effect. But this ain't going to be doing it. Holy Fire for 10 damage. I think that's going to close it out.
Wow. Wonder how long he'll take to do it.
That is a very good question. We could be here a while. And, you know, the obvious elephant in the room here is that Bozzzton played Rexar the turn before Zerik's Cloning Gallery was played. And
He knew how many coins there were.
He knew how many coins there were, that's the thing. But does he think he ever beats it anyway? It doesn't matter now. With exact lethal, Pardub is advancing through to the finals.
Well done to Pardub. And Cora, you have been telling us that you like this deck, and now we understand why.
This deck is incredibly explosive, and when it works beautifully. Against the Hunter, you really just need something to get you through that early game and a Psychic Scream. And from that point, if you do have the Xerix or at least something big, you can get out a boosted up Spellstone quite quickly. And the Hunter just cannot deal with a big board of stuff, or a big board of little stuff in this case, even because of that Rexar coming down just one turn earlier for Bozzzton. But Pardub is going to be our first player moving on to the finals. I have to say, I think we're all a little bit surprised by it, but he has shown that he has some prowess on decks, clearly other than that Quest Rogue, as it was banned away, and he was still able to get a rather easy victory there. So very clean play by Pardub. Congratulations to him. Bozzzton still has had an incredible year, and I think even without this win under his belt, he can be very proud of the leaps and bounds that he's grown and progressed this year. And certainly, I think he was very deserving of the win, but it just wasn't his day.
Yeah, Bozzzton and semi-final, that is the closest he has managed to be all year. Again, he's just had those consistent results. I think we would all have liked to see him take home the trophy.
Yeah.
But that
Would
is
have
not
been
to
very
be.
fitting.
Yeah, very much so. So Faley is the sort of the one player left in the category of players we've expected to win something who haven't. But Pardub and Burr putting up a great fight. Especially, I've enjoyed watching Burr immensely through this top 16.
Yeah, I think his play with Malagos Druid, I would have taken some different lines, having seen him play in the other quarterfinal match. But I still think he's in with a very good shot. But Violey, for me, still got to be the favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. I think Faley is probably the favorite, not just because of his performance this week, but because he did get to this point in DreamHack Summer as well. He was in the semifinals and fell a little bit short there, but we'll see now, can he overcome that semifinal hump, or will he not be able to make it to the finals yet again? Burrow does stand in his way. So our second semifinal coming up right after this. It is Faley taking on Burrow to find out who will be the player going up against Pardub in the finals.